Does perfection exist? I want you all to imagine for a moment in your head how would a perfect world would look like. Maybe some of you are thinking about one with global peace, equal rights, and free from poverty where everyone is happy. Or maybe some of you are thinking of a world in which you can play soccer just as good as Messi does. Wish this was you, huh? Well, today I came here to reveal a truth that might be a little disappointing. And the truth is that this perfect world that you just made up in your head doesn't actually exist, as we know. And even if this perfect world did exist, it would end up being a dystopia in whichever way you see it. Take as an example movies like The Truman Show, or The Matrix, or even a kids movie like The Lego Movie. All these utopian worlds end up being dystopias because us, as humans, were naturally made with free will to make mistakes, which means that in order for there to be a world with no mistakes, there would have to be some kind of control over what we do, say, or even what we think. So now I ask, would this be perfect for you? The truth is that the word perfect was just invented by humans to be able to appreciate it and try to understand it, but we'll never be able to reach it. It's unrealistic, and no one has ever lived in a perfect world, because even as we saw, each one of us has a different definition of what perfect would look like. Even so, there are many people that believe that success is equal to perfection. Perfectionism can be defined as the pursuit of flawlessness at all costs. It finds its roots on societal pressures, and it's present on us like a silent epidemic, and anyone can fall into it. Perfectionists are often prone to procrastination, self-doubt, and burnout, because their lack of knowing their self-worth makes them addicted to praise, which also makes them addicted to overachievement. This means that a perfectionist will never be satisfied with what they do because they believe, and we believe, that our self-worth is solely based on the achievements and how perfect they turn out to be. Why am I speaking in first person, you may ask? And the truth is that I'm a recovering perfectionist. Ever since I was little, I thought that my self-worth was solely based on my achievements and how perfect they turn out to be to others. This constant attention that was given to me by the achievements that I made was something that I had created an addiction to over time, thinking that if I didn't do things perfectly, with an absence of missteps, and had always a flawless landing, then my self-value and my self-worth wasn't anything. In this way, I'm sure many of you have seen the Harry Potter movies. Well, for me, personally, I love them and even know by memory some of the characters' lines. Well, do you remember, if you saw them, this little school tyrant called Hermione that had many symptoms of being a perfectionist? Well, the interesting is that the girl that played her, Emma Watson, actually identified herself as a perfectionist. She reminds us that perfectionism is a weakness if you don't learn to control it. Perfectionism can bring up your vulnerability to depression, writer's block, burnout, and also some social anxiety. All of these things are barriers to success, which is kind of ironic when you realize that it's the opposite of what you're trying to achieve by pursuing perfection. She reminds us that we have to learn to love ourselves and accept ourselves because perfectionism can be a barrier to letting our true and genuine selves show off to the world. In this sense, I've created a plan that has helped me to get rid of this perfectionist mindset and change it for a more optimistic and self-loving mindset. This plan that I made is called the Imperfect Orchid Plan, which is based on Dr. Ángela Hernando's Studies, which is a perfectionist psychologist specialized in the topic. And also, this plant is based on a flower. This flower is called Stanopia orchid. And these little spots that it has show to the world that maybe it could be imperfect dots, like maybe dots of an illness or poisonous thoughts, which made people think that these were imperfections, when actually these dots are what make this plant so special, authentic, and therefore so demanded. In this way, enabled to be able to grow like a plant, you should first start by identifying the weed. That's the first step of the plan. For you to be able to solve whatever problem, you should first identify what's preventing you from growing in your natural way. This weed that's preventing you from growing is perfectionism. And even if you don't have perfectionism or don't think you're a perfectionist, maybe you have identified some of the symptoms or things that someone with a perfectionist mindset would have. The thing is, once you've identified these symptoms, or that maybe you may be a perfectionist, you should start by cultivating what I think is the opposite of perfectionism: self-love. And I know it's hard to do it and easy to say it, because I've been in that place. Take as an example, me, ever since I was little, never considered myself to be good at any sport. So I would usually just stop and quit any sport in which I considered that I wasn't good enough, either for competitions or I wasn't good enough for myself in that sport. But then I've learned to love myself and do it for the experience and for myself, not for others to see that I was winning trophies or that I was the best at the team. I was actually doing it because I liked and enjoyed the sport. This is an example of what you can do to start cultivating things that you actually enjoy doing by yourself and for yourself. Also, you should start taking time for yourself. Stop pushing yourself to a limit when you feel like you can't do more, but think that you should do more. Because this is not going to get you anywhere. And it's just going to get you to procrastinate and therefore never be satisfied with what you're doing. In this sense, you have to balance. Just like a plant needs the right amount of sun and water to survive and be able to grow, you should balance the activities that you do. Not because I'm telling you, yeah, you should stop being a perfectionist and pushing yourself too hard over the limit means that you don't have to get things done. No, of course you have to get things done. Just set timers for your brain to rest. Remember to sleep at least 7 to 8 hours a day, eat, and spend time with others, but also remember to spend time with yourself so that you can cultivate, as the last step, a healthy mindset, an optimistic one. The fourth step is growth. Learn to embrace the journey. It doesn't matter how the results are. You just have to embrace the imperfect journey. For example, one day you can try experiencing baking cookies, but don't do it to post it on Instagram so that everybody sees how delicious your cookies turned out. Do it for yourself and for the experience, and don't be afraid to burn those cookies. This is an example of what you can do in order to embrace the imperfect journey. And remember to seek help when needed. Seeking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of courage. With all of this, I want to tell you a quote by the great Marilyn Monroe. Imperfection is beauty. Madness is genius. And it's better to be absolutely ridiculous than absolutely boring. Learn to embrace your imperfections, for in them lies your true brilliance. And dare to be truly and unapologetically human. Thank you.